Planning to own a junk removal company? You might want to think twice. The pitch sounds almost too simple. Buy a truck, haul people's old couches and busted appliances to the dump, and charge them for the privilege. No storefront, no inventory, no degree required. Just a truck, a strong back, and a phone that rings. It's one of the lowest barriers to entry of any business on this channel, which is exactly why so many people jump in without doing the math first. Some junk removal locations now average more than $3 million a year in revenue, but a big chunk of that money never reaches the person who owns the truck. So how does hauling old furniture turn into a multi-million-dollar industry, and where does most of that money actually go? That's what we're figuring out today. And the answer has a lot less to do with trucks, and a lot more to do with a fee structure most first-time owners never see coming. The first cost, the one that ranges from almost nothing to nearly $500,000, depends entirely on whether you go it alone or buy into a name. This is one of the only businesses on this channel where the floor and the ceiling on startup cost are almost absurdly far apart. At the bare bones end, you can start independent with a used pickup and a trailer for a few $1,000s. People have done it for even less. In 1989, a 19-year-old named Brian Scudamore spotted a beat-up pickup truck advertising a hauling company while sitting in a McDonald's drive-thru in Vancouver. He put nearly his entire life savings, about $1,000, into a used truck and started hauling junk himself. It took him 8 years to hit $1 million in annual revenue, working the business largely by himself. That company is 1-800-GOT-JUNK today. We'll come back to what it turned into. If you'd rather buy into an established name instead of building one from scratch, the franchise route looks completely different. Junk King starts around $93,000. 1-800-GOT-JUNK runs from roughly $165,000 to $258,000. College Hunks Hauling Junk, which also runs a moving business off the same trucks, tops out around $355,500. That covers the franchise fee itself, which alone can run $30,000 to $77,000, plus your trucks, insurance, training, and working capital to survive the first few months. There's also a third path, buying someone else's existing operation. Small independent businesses typically list for $100,000 to $350,000. Larger multi-truck operations run $500,000 into the millions, usually priced at 1 to 2 times sellers' discretionary earnings. The hidden trap, the one buried in every single load. The dump doesn't care how good your marketing is, and neither does the truck you didn't buy. Almost every first-time owner underestimates two things: what the dump costs and what marketing costs. Start with the dump. The national average landfill tipping fee hit $62.28 per ton, up 10% in a single year, the steepest jump since 2022. That's a national average. It ranges from under $32 a ton in Mississippi to more than $124 a ton in Alaska, and it climbs every year as landfill capacity shrinks. On top of the per-ton rate, specific items carry their own surcharges. Mattresses can run $10 to $30 extra. Appliances with refrigerant, like refrigerators and air conditioners, add $15 to $35 per unit. Every single load you haul has a real rising cost attached before you've paid for gas or paid yourself. Then there's marketing, and this is where a lot of first-time owners set money on fire without realizing it. One operator in Washington state spent more than $60,000 over 4 years on Google Ads, radio, and paid SEO companies, chasing customers who were never going to convert that way. What actually built his business was a single free conversation with a real estate agent, which turned into 70% of his ongoing work. Junk removal is a trust business. People don't hire the top result on Google to come into their home and go through their belongings. They hire whoever their real estate agent, their property manager, or their neighbor already vouches for. And then there's the equipment mistake almost nobody warns you about: skipping the dump trailer. Without one, every item gets loaded by hand. And then there's the equipment mistake almost nobody warns you about: skipping the dump trailer. Without one, every item gets loaded by hand and then unloaded by hand again at the dump. He ran 2 full years that way before finally buying a proper dump trailer and said flatly that it had been quietly killing his margins the entire time. A decent one runs upwards of $11,500. The real engine, the one that explains why franchise fees exist at all, the money isn't really in the hauling, it's in the percentage that never stops. So if the buy-in is manageable and the trucks are simple, where does a franchise's real money go? To the franchisor. Every single month, forever. Here's the part almost nobody budgets for properly. The franchise fee you pay up front is a one-time cost. The royalty is not. 1-800-GOT-JUNK charges a combined 16 to 21% of your gross revenue, an 8% royalty, an 8% marketing and technology fee, and in some cases a further 5% branding cooperative fee. College Hunks runs similarly, around 17% combined. Junk King is closer to 11%. Junk Luggers charges 9%, Rubbish Works charges 8%. Run the math on a truck doing $350,000 in annual revenue, which is realistic for a single, well-run location. At 16%, that's $56,000 a year sent to corporate. At 17%, $59,500. Even at the lowest end, 8%, that's still $28,000 a year, every year, for as long as you run the franchise. That's before you've paid a single driver, filled a single tank of gas, or paid a single dump fee. Compare that to going independent. A different independent operator, posting on a small business forum, reported $60,000 to $80,000 in profit on $170,000 to $200,000 in revenue after 4 years, with no royalty to anyone. That's a 30 to 40% margin, kept entirely in-house. A franchise owner generating that same revenue keeps meaningfully less by design. What you're actually buying with a franchise fee isn't a truck. It's a permanent percentage of everything that truck ever earns, in exchange for the brand, the training, and the systems behind it. The real money in junk removal. The truck is the smallest part of the business. The percentage is the business. Whether that percentage goes to a franchisor forever or stays with you because you built the trust and the systems yourself is the single biggest decision in this entire industry. Remember that 19-year-old with the $1,000 life savings and the used pickup truck? Brian Scudamore's one-man operation became 1-800-GOT-JUNK, now the largest professional junk removal company in the world, with roughly 150 to 180 franchise locations across North America and Australia. Individual locations now average between $3.06 and $3.29 million in annual revenue, on a total franchise investment that can be under $315,000. That revenue-to-investment ratio is hard to find anywhere else in franchising. But every single one of those franchisees is sending 16 to 21% of that revenue back to the company Scudamore built, every year, for as long as they operate. It's not a criticism, it's the actual trade. Scudamore spent 8 slow years building the systems, the brand, and the training that now let a total stranger open a truck and hit real revenue fast. That's genuinely worth paying for. But it's worth knowing exactly what you're trading away in return, because not every franchise in this category delivers on that promise equally. College Hunks has drawn Better Business Bureau complaints over hidden dispatch fees at some locations, and Franchise Times has reported unusually high termination numbers at one veteran-focused junk removal brand. The brand you buy into carries both its upside and its problems, and you inherit both the moment you sign. So let's run the 2 real outcomes. The optimistic case. You buy into a mid-tier franchise, say around $150,000 all in a market without 3 competitors already established. You hit $350,000 in revenue by year 2, consistent with typical franchise performance. After an 11 to 16% royalty and marketing fee, dump costs running roughly 10 to 15% of revenue, fuel, insurance, and a part-time crew, you're clearing somewhere around $90,000 to $110,000 a year for yourself. Not life-changing yet, but a real, growing small business with a system behind it and room to add a second truck. The realistic case. You buy into a franchise at the higher end, and your market is more competitive than the sales pitch led on. Revenue lands closer to $200,000 to $250,000 in year 2 instead of $350,000. The royalty and marketing fee still apply at the same percentage, regardless of how business is going. After fees, dump costs, and overhead, you're clearing something closer to $30,000 to $45,000 a year, which barely beats what you'd have made working for someone else, after putting 6 figures of your own capital at risk. That gap between the two scenarios isn't about hustle. It's almost entirely about whether the territory you bought into can support the revenue the franchise disclosure document implied. So is it worth it? If you're picturing easy money from a truck and a strong back, that part is true, but it's also the smallest part of the business. The real decision is whether you want to pay a permanent percentage for a proven system and a recognizable name, or keep more of every dollar while building your own reputation from zero, the slow way Scudamore did. Neither path is wrong, but walking in without understanding that trade-off is how first-time owners end up surprised by a royalty statement instead of celebrating a good month. For someone who wants brand recognition, training, and a faster path to real revenue, and is comfortable sending a slice of every dollar back to corporate forever, this can be a genuinely strong small business. For someone willing to grind out the slow years, building their own name, referral base, and systems, the independent path keeps far more of what you earn, with far less safety net if it doesn't work. Remember this. Junk removal isn't a truck business. It's a trust business wearing a truck as its uniform. The company that figures out how to earn that trust, whether that's a franchisor's brand or your own reputation, is the one that gets paid. Everyone else is just moving furniture.